All right, guys. So in this episode of Cuckoo for Cocoa Puff World, we got to talk about some leftist logic, right? That makes absolutely no sense, and in my opinion, is quite dangerous. Okay, and this is why I want to address this, and I like addressing this topic every now and then because I think it's important to make it very, very, very clear. Okay, that this right here, what this person is advocating for, is not okay. Which is for trans people not to tell people that they're trans when they go out on dates with normal folks, right? If you go out on a date with somebody and you're trans and that other person doesn't know that, you need to tell them that. Otherwise, that person, the trans person, is putting themselves in danger because essentially they're not allowing the person they're dating to consent to being with somebody of the same sex, okay? That's very important. And I'm saying that because I don't want to see transgender people get hurt. Okay. I'm saying that because I care, right? If I didn't care, I wouldn't say anything. Okay. But again, if you listen to people like this who claim they care, they are basically promoting advice that I believe is going to get people hurt, which is for trans people not to have to tell whoever they're dating that they're trans. So without further ado, I want to react to it because this is just insanely silly logic. So let's get into it.
When is the appropriate time for a trans person to tell somebody that they are seeing or who they intend to start seeing that they are trans? Well, that's completely up to the trans person. When they decide to divulge this very personal, very intimate, private information to anyone is completely up to them. And I'll tell you why. Okay,
so before we get into it, no, it's not up to them. They should just do it, right? I mean, preferably when you meet somebody, immediately when you meet them, the first thing you should be saying is that, hey, I'm trans. Are you okay with that? Right? That's the first thing you should say before you even start the conversation, before you even get in it, before you do any of that stuff. Hey, I'm trans, right? I want you to know that before we start this conversation. Are you okay with that? Yes or no? Are you comfortable with that? That is what they should do. Okay? There is no excuses for not doing that. Zero, none, not a zip. I don't want to hear it. Okay?
When a trans person comes out as trans, worst case scenario, they are murdered for being trans.
No. When a trans person comes out as trans, for example, when they tell somebody before they start dating them that they're trans, the worst thing that happens is that they're going to say, okay, well, I'm just not interested, right? You're not going to be murdered for that, okay? You're not going to be murdered for being trans. People in this country are not being murdered for being trans, okay? That's a lie, okay? That's a myth, okay? That is a lie. However, you do risk your chance of being seriously hurt if you wait until you start going out on dates or you have intimate moments or sexual contact with a person before telling them that you're trans.
If a trans person doesn't tell you that they are trans as early as you would have liked them to, worst case scenario, your feelings get hurt and the relationship ends.
No, worst case scenario is what you just said before that, okay? What you said prior to this was worst case scenario. Again, see, this is just terrible advice, man. This is really bad advice. This is the type of advice that's going to get people hurt, okay? Don't listen to these leftist lunatics because this makes absolutely no sense.
Their safety trumps your feelings 100% of the time.
Yeah, unfortunately, too many people in our society believe this, including Democrats, which is why these people are allowed to get away with everything, okay? Because their feelings trumps, or their safety, right, trumps everybody else's feelings 100% of the time. Okay, I want you guys to understand how this works. She just told you exactly what's up. Their safety, aka their feelings, because it's not really about their safety, it's really about their feelings, right? Their feelings trumps your feelings 100% of the time, okay? Because they're special snowflakes that must be coddled and capitulated to no matter what they say.
In the same way, I wouldn't expect a woman to divulge her body count to a man until she felt safe and comfortable doing so. Because some men really couldn't care less. Some men will have a limit, like 2 or 3 is fine, but any more than 5 and you're a slut. And then there are some men who expect you to be a virgin, and if you've ever had sex before, they take that to mean that it's okay for them to rape you.
Yeah. Again, leftist logic, okay? First and foremost, comparing body count to being transgender is ridiculous, okay? I don't think a woman has to divulge her body count initially when she meets a man, but if a man asks about it and he's concerned about it, then, I do think to a certain extent that, she should be honest, the same way a man should be honest, right? And if you can't be honest, then that person, or you can't divulge that information, you say, look, I'm not comfortable telling you the information. I don't want to tell you the information. Then it's up to that person to decide whether or not they're comfortable with not knowing, right? But to compare those two things is just ridiculous. Okay, we're talking about genitalia here, right? We're talking about having expectations of somebody having a certain genitalia, right? Again, it's just nonsense. It's crazy.
And what is it you women always say? We don't know which ones it is, so we have to be cautious of all of them, right? And FYI, just because you personally wouldn't assault a trans person doesn't mean that nobody would.
Well, most people aren't. Most people aren't. Okay, most people aren't. So again, I don't know which this person is getting this from. Again, trans people are not in some type of unique danger because they're trans. This is just a ridiculous thing, and we have to start pushing back against the ideology. It's just ridiculous.
Doesn't mean that nobody would. Even in my comment section, I've had people leave messages like, if I found out that I was on a date with a guy pretending to be a girl, I'd beat the shit out of him. So yeah, the risk is very real.
Well, here's the thing. Again, this is why you should say, hey, I'm trans up front before you go on a date. Therefore, you minimize the risk of that happening. Because I ain't gonna lie, I'll be pissed too, right? If I was talking to a girl, and I'm trying to, get with her or whatever, and I'm saying stuff, thinking that, oh, this person has a vagina, this is an actual biological woman, and then I get to the dinner table, I'm saying what I gotta say or whatever, and then they tell me, hey, I'm a man, and I just found out that I just took a man out on a date, okay? Yeah, I'm gonna be heated. I'm gonna be super heated, okay? Which is why all these people in their dating profiles should put, I'm trans. Or if you meet somebody out in a bar or whatever, or wherever you go and you meet people, I'm trans, right? You need to make it very clear.
So most people nowadays use dating apps to talk and get to know people before you meet up for the first time. So why don't trans people just put that on their profile so that everybody knows up front?
They should, right? They should. In fact, they should be required to, right? They should be required to by law. I would 100% support that. Trans people are required to divulge that they're trans, okay? When it comes to dating, right? They should be required to do it, okay?
Well, some people are very loud and proud about being trans, and that's great for them. But some people maybe don't want the whole world to know. Maybe they only trust people that they are very close to with that information. Maybe they just want people to get to know them as the person that they are without having to have every conversation prefaced with, I am trans.
Well, you're trans, right? That's a part of who you are, right? We can't have no conversation about who you are unless I know that the genitalia is matching my expectations. That is a very important thing, because if you don't have the proper genitalia, I don't even want to start a conversation. I don't want to get to know nothing about you if you don't have the genitalia that I'm looking for. I'm just saying. I'm just saying that's just how it is.
But also, being on an app doesn't protect them from attack. Not only does it open them up to receiving abusive messages, but people dox strangers, out them, and try to get them fired all the time. And worse. To me, the solution is pretty obvious. If you are the kind of person who would never date a trans person, why don't you put that on your profile or bring it up on a first date?
Well, it's not incumbent upon me because I'm normal, right? I'm a part of the majority, right? Now, again, if I'm a minority, if I'm in a super minority or whatever, and that this is a taboo thing that most people are not into, then yeah, I would put something up there, like, right? Like if I had, disclose, like, again, it's certain levels to it, like, for example, if you know that you have like, STD or something like that, yeah, you should probably say something about it before you have sex, right? Just like if you, start dating somebody or talking to somebody, you should tell them you're trans before then. I mean, like, it's just common sense. It's just courtesy. These are just things that people do before they engage in certain activities with people, right? Again, it's all about consent. It's all about being informed.
Honestly, if you have any 100% deal breakers, it's your responsibility to bring that up. You can't expect the people...
Yeah, well, how is being trans not 100% a deal breaker, right? I mean, the trans person should be bringing it up, okay? Because, hey, that to a lot of people is going to be 100% a deal breaker.
Who you're on a date with to just psychically know what those things are. Like if it's really important to you that you get married and have kids, or if you could never date a smoker, or if you have trauma related to excessive alcohol consumption. How is the person you're dating supposed to know what information is relevant and what isn't unless you tell them?
But being trans is a really big, important piece of information.
Yeah, to you, because it matters to you.
Well, it matters to most people, right? And here's the thing, if you did what this person said, right? If you say, hey, I don't date trans, right? No trans women. they're going to call you a transphobe. So there's no winning, right? There's no winning with these people. Because again, if you actually did that, if you actually said, hey, I don't date trans people, I don't want to date trans women, trans men, whatever, they're going to say you're transphobic, you're a bigot, and you're discriminated. So it's a lose-lose. You're going to lose regardless with these people, right? Basically, they want to force you to date people of the opposite sex. That's what they want you to do. They want to force you to date these people. It's insane.
For me, if someone came out as being trans months after we'd already been dating, my first response would not be, I can't believe you hadn't told me this already, why have you been lying to me all this time? It would be, I'm so sorry that you haven't felt comfortable enough to tell me this before.
Well, that's you, right? But you're in a very, very, very small minority. That's you, okay? But I'm telling you, majority of people would definitely not be okay with it. They would not be cool with this.
Personally, I think around date 3 is the limit. I think if you've been on 3 dates with a person and you're still not sure whether or not you can trust them with this information, you probably shouldn't see them again. I definitely think you should tell them before you become physical with them, just because people are more likely to react badly if they feel like they didn't have informed consent. I had someone try to tell me that the longer you put off telling someone, the more likely they are to react badly to it, but here's the thing. If at any point during those 3 dates the trans person thinks you might be dangerous, then they can just end things without ever having to tell you, therefore keeping them safe. If you're someone who is not dangerous, but just wouldn't ever date a trans person, and you find out that they are trans on date 3, so what?
But they've
What do you mean, so what? Right? What do you mean, so what? But I just took a man out on a date. Like, I'm not gay. Well, of course, I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be upset. I'm going to be heated. That's not a so what thing. My time is valuable, right? And I'm pretty sure a lot of people's times are valuable. And they don't want to waste their time taking people of the same sex out on a date unknowingly, getting catfished. Again, bad advice.
wasted my time and they've wasted their time by not being upfront about it.
And I say again, if it was that important to you, why didn't you bring it up? And if you're
What I'm supposed to do? Hey, are you trans? Right? I mean, again, how offensive that is to women. You know, if I going up, you know, asking a woman, hey, are you trans? See, again, if you started to do that, if you did that, right? Again, one, probably not good game, right? To ask a woman, is she trans? Hey, do you got a penis? Before we get into this, I got to ask you, are you trans? Do you got a penis? Again, probably not good game. And then 2, right? If you ask, and they're super liberal, then they're going to label you a transphobe, right? Again, there's no winning with this. There's no winning with this type of, this approach.
agreed to 3 dates, you must have liked them and enjoyed their company, so isn't that enough?
No, hell no. Genitalia matters, right? Genitalia matters. All genitalia matters.
All dates turn into a long-term thing. That's just dating life. At least you had a nice time with an interesting person. But to reiterate what I said at the start, the safety and the comfort of the trans person is the determining factor.
Yeah,
so it's up to them.
Yeah, so it's not about you, it's about them. Everything is about them. All right? They're telling you exactly what they believe out loud. It's not about you. Everything is about them. Therefore, you got to capitulate to everything they want, no matter how ridiculous it is. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.